Have you taken the NCE exam and then once you took the exam, you felt like nothing you studied was on this particular exam? This video is for you. This video is for anyone else who's ever had that question. So, if you have not taken the time to subscribe or like the channel, hit the notification, please do so. This is your time. So, let's get into this video since you've done that. Let's go over the contents of this video, shall we? So, first, we're going to talk about the NCE outline. Second, how the exam is constructed. 3, ABE, CBT, and APB. What does that mean? 4, are the study materials similar? And 5, my study tips and suggestions. So first, let's talk about the exam purpose. The National Council exam measures an examinee's knowledge and understanding of theoretical and skill-based tenets necessary to practice safely and competently as an entry-level counselor. The exam's development is based upon a national job analysis of more than 16,000 credentialed counselors, identifying empirically valid or work behaviors determined to be the most relevant for competent counseling practices. The examination is aligned with the A Council for Accreditation of Counseling and Related Educational Programs, also known as KCREP areas. So that will be covered about those eight KCREP areas will be reviewed in the up and coming slides, so stay tuned. But first, let's talk about what does it mean to be or to see on your test ABE, APB, or CBT. There's been a lot of discussion about this, so let's talk about it. There has been some speculation about the ABE, APB, and CBT, where people have identified that they were told that CBT means cognitive behavioral therapy. Also, the other acronyms mean that their exam is going to be either easier or difficult, and that is not the case. So, clarifying this up will help you feel a little better about what this actually means and how it relates to you. So, first up is that the CBT stands for computer based testing, right? So, you are doing a computer based testing, right? You might be at your site doing it on the computer as far as like your location that you have. So, that just means you're taking it at an establishment where other people are taking their testing centers at. So, that's what CBT means, not cognitive behavioral therapy. So, now we have APB stands for Anywhere Proctored Browser. APB administrators can be delivered on any school campus via desktop, laptop, computers that meet the specific system specification. This option is appealing because it's less expensive per student, it's most flexible, and schools decide the date, time, and location. But keep in mind that this is for CPCE. I have not seen this on the NCE exam, but there has been speculation that it's been there. So just keep in mind, this information is helpful too. If you see this on your exam, you will see it printed out at the end if it happens to show up on your exam. Okay. So back to APB. It just means that you can take the CPC anywhere with the school permission, right? Less expensive. You have more flexibility, right? And you could take this test as a cohort in the comfort of their programs with their school. Of course, the CPCE is the examination that you would take in order to exit your school program, the counselor preparation comprehensive examination. ABE, this is what we're going to go over now, which is the CPC, CBT, and the CPCE on view formats, which have been merged into a unified designation called the CPCE and ABE. This new designation introduces a dual modality, enabling candidates to choose between testing in person, CBT, or virtually on view, without the need to register under different links or update their account for a format switch. Now that we have the information about the ABE and APB and CBT out the way, let's get to the question of the day. Are there some NCE study materials that are similar to the NCE exam? As you can see, there are so many resources that you can use to study for your NCE exam. I always say that it's good to have information about 2 study materials that you will want to use for your exam. And I say this because you don't want to overwhelm yourself, and I've seen this a lot with those people I tutored. So Be mindful not to try to consume so many study materials that you overwhelm yourself and you don't end up retaining the information. But long story short, there are no exact formats from these study materials that's going to be exactly like the exam. I've heard people say Test.com had similarities, which I've used to take my exam with as well. And it was very helpful to use that format as well as Dr. Rosenthal. But let's talk more about that. As I mentioned, I used Dr. Rosenthal's Purple Book and Test.com. I Like I said, I found both of them helpful. The Test.com was a good format for me to use. It resembled the exam at most. Dr. Rosenthal book was great too because it gave more in-depth insight, and it also provided other questions that Test.com did not provide. So it was a good balance because when you think about the format for the National Council exam, you have 14 areas. Test.com covered 6 of those areas, and then Dr. Rosenthal Purple Book covered the rest. So it was a good balance for me to use both of those so that I can test myself in all 14 areas and study in all 14 areas. So since there are so many materials out there, like I said before, I think it's best to just choose 2 study materials. And as I mentioned, you're going to get overwhelmed if you don't. As I mentioned before, the NCE exam has 14 areas that's covered. It has domains and subdomains, and it's listed here. Pause to review. But as I mentioned before, the Test.com covered the domain part, the portion, and then Dr. Rosenthal's Purple Book covered the rest of those areas. And so that's how I got a balance in between that. So make sure that what you're studying, you give yourself 3 months out to be able to do this 14-week study prep, preferably if you can. So here are some amazing tips that have helped me when I was studying for my NCE, as well as preparing other people studying for the exam as well. Number 1, do not try to remember all these study materials, because what you're going to do is you're going to be just writing this information down, but you're not understanding it, right? Or trying to learn everything about Sigmund Freud that you can remember all the way up to his birth date to his death, where he was born, all this stuff. You don't need to know every last detail. What I would recommend is knowing 2 to 3 things per theorist that sets them apart from the other theorists. You want to know those differences. Number 2, use 2 study materials only. I cannot stress this enough. I've already mentioned that I've used Test.com for the domains, and I also use Dr. Rosenthal for the subdomains, because those are the areas that are covered on the exam. I would not recommend using 3 materials because, like I said before, you're going to overwhelm yourself, you're going to get frustrated, and you're not going to be able to really take in the information to make it applicable. Number 3, no matter what study materials that you're going to use, the information that you're learning is the same. When you're taking the exam, just know that there are people who are trained in putting together these answers, and there is 20 people per subject who are putting together these questions. So it's going to vary. It's not going to be the same. But the information that you're learning is going to be the same. The format, that's questionable, right? But if you do what you need to do as far as studying, the keywords, using 2 study materials, and you'll be good. Number 4, give yourself 3 months to study before you take the next exam. I honestly feel that's why they give you 3 months, because you would need that 3 months to study, right? For some people have to wait that 3-month period. Trust your instincts. Last of all, I cannot stress this enough either, because if you do not have faith in yourself, you do not trust your instincts on that first answer, you end up changing your answer, which also goes right back into when you're taking the exam that you stay on that question for way too long. Have faith in yourself. Know that you know the answer. I always recommend when you're taking the exam, go through it as if you're getting every answer right. You have to boost yourself up. You have to use positive affirmations, which I have put into my YouTube channel for you for your counseling exam, because if you do not have the faith that you can do these things, you're going to down yourself. You're going to have this inner critic that's going to tell you you're not good enough, you're not doing enough, but you are. Okay, you've not turned to this video for no reason, because you probably were frustrated, but just know that you got this. And I hope that this video has been very helpful and giving you some clarity about these acronyms, some clarity about, what material is best to use, and how come, sometimes it feels like you don't see the same thing you study on the exam. Just know that there are people putting together this NCE questions. They are called subject matter experts, and they are the reason why your exam looks different, because it's 20 people per subject per question putting these together. So it's going to vary, okay? But the information that they're testing you on has not changed. So just keep that in mind. I hope these tips have worked. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your night or day or evening. Bye.